Behind every headline is a room no one wants to enter. A room lined with photographs, boxed evidence, and stories that stain. Welcome to True Crime Obsession, where we walk the corridor between fact and fear. Lock the doors, kill the lights, and let's open today's file. "18 years old, quiet, withdrawn. A teenager who preferred video games over people, silence over conversations, and isolation over the outside world. To his neighbors in Corpus Christi, Texas, Kevin Davis was simply a shy young man. But inside his family's small 2-bedroom apartment, a chilling storm had been building, a darkness that would soon erupt into one of the most disturbing crimes the city had ever seen. Kevin lived there with his 50-year-old mother, Kimberly Hill, and his sister Desiree. Kimberly, a kind and caring woman, worked hard to support her children. She loved her son, but by late 2013, she began to notice troubling changes. She confided in her apartment manager, admitting Kevin didn't want to go to school anymore. All he wanted to do was sit at home, alone, playing video games. He was slipping further away from reality, spending more time in his head than in the world around him. March 27, 2014. It started like any other night. Kimberly was sitting on the couch watching TV. Kevin was in his bedroom, but then he came out, and the words he spoke would send a chill through any parent's heart. He told his mother, "I'm bored with life. I don't like life. I don't like people. I don't like living in it. There's really nothing depressing about it." Kimberly, who was likely stunned, told her son that she couldn't control his choices if he chose to harm himself. But those words, perhaps meant to comfort or challenge him, only ignited his rage. Moments later, Kevin reemerged. This time he carried a cord, one that he had ripped from his own video game console. He came up behind his mother as she sat watching TV. Without warning, he wrapped the cord around her neck and pulled. Kimberly struggled, clawing for air, but Kevin quickly realized it wasn't working. He released the cord, leaving his mother dazed, gasping for breath, but he wasn't done. Kevin went into his mother's bedroom. He knew exactly where she kept a hammer in the bottom left drawer. He took it, walked back into the living room, and began to strike. He later confessed coldly to detectives. "I hit her at least 20 times. The blows were merciless." Kimberly's skull split open, her brain exposed, yet even then she clung to life. Kevin left again, this time retrieving a knife from the kitchen. What he did next left even hardened investigators horrified. He began to toy with what remained of his mother's brain, swirling it with his knife and his finger, later describing the sensation as feeling like putty. And then the crime took an even darker turn. Kevin dragged Kimberly into her bedroom and violated her body, later admitting with disturbing detachment, "Oh yeah, I lost my virginity to a corpse." Kevin waited for his sister to come home. He wanted to do the same to her, but at the last moment, he decided against it, saying later, "That would have been too much." Instead, he wrote a note for the police and fled on his bicycle. At first, Kevin planned to run, but he quickly changed his mind. He abandoned his bike and walked to a nearby home in Robstown, Texas. When the residents Timothy Johnson and LaWanda Houston answered their door, Kevin simply asked if they could call 911. LaWanda hesitated. "Why do you need to call 911?" she asked. Kevin's reply was chillingly casual, "Because I killed my mom." While LaWanda slipped away to call police, Timothy stayed outside with Kevin, asking him why. Kevin's response? "Lots of reasons." But he never explained what those reasons were. When police arrived, Kevin didn't resist. He was taken into custody and almost immediately began confessing. He gave detectives every gruesome detail, showing no signs of remorse. And yet, in the middle of his confession, he admitted something chilling. Kimberly had been a loving, caring mother. She didn't deserve any of it. In his words, "I'm just a disgusting person." At first, Kevin pleaded not guilty despite his full confession. Later, he changed his plea to guilty. During sentencing, Kimberly's father and her daughter Desiree read heartbreaking victim impact statements, describing her as a good and caring woman whose life was brutally stolen. They begged the judge for the harshest punishment possible. The court agreed. Kevin Davis was sentenced to life in prison. He will not be eligible for parole until 2044. A teenager who claimed he was simply bored with life unleashed horrors that defied comprehension. The question remains, was Kevin Davis born a monster, or did years of isolation, obsession, and hidden darkness create him? What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Case closed, at least on paper. In your view, what did we miss? Comment below and make sure you like the video and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Until next time, stay obsessed.